Hello, hello, Ramblin' Man Moto here. It's another beautiful day here in the Commonwealth in the mid-70s. Unfortunately, I wanted to get out this morning and couldn't. My son left something here at home, and rather than him coming back, I'm using an excuse to get on the bike and take it to him. It gives me another chance to test out this 12-inch Freedom Shield. And I'm still debating whether to take the owner up on the offer to cut the holes differently. I'll see you on the road. Ramblin' Man Moto here on the road. As I mentioned, taking something to my son that he forgot that he needs this afternoon, and rather than him coming all the way back home, I'll use it as an excuse to get out here on the road. So I'm still testing out this 12-inch Freedom Shield, and you know, one thing I noticed for sure on this one compared to my Freedom Shield on my Super Chief is there is like no airflow reaching the helmet. Alright, picking back up, you know that there's been a couple of cars have gone in ditches right at that same spot. I don't know what it is about that turn. So anyhow, there's like no airflow reaching the front of the helmet. And that means like I feel nothing coming in from the front vent that I have open. I've opened my top vent, so luckily there's a little bit of airflow coming through there. But even that seems reduced. Now, if I raise this, if I take the guy up on the offer, it's only going to make the airflow even more reduced. It does show the effectiveness of the windshield, that it's stopping the air, and I also have the fork-mounted wind deflectors. It's just really hot inside the helmet. And I don't have that issue on the Super Chief. Same helmet. That has a Corbin seat. This has the Ultimate. Obviously two different bikes, but I'm wearing the same helmet. Now, I did a feeble attempt at doing a quick clean on the helmet this morning, and I'm curious, this showy helmet in particular, the modular, has the top vent in particular gets a lot of bugs in it. And I used a little duster thing to try to blow them out. And I don't know if on the bottom one, if that's why I'm getting less air. And I'm curious how you guys get in there to clean them out. I haven't fully disassembled this helmet, so I don't know if there's a way to like pull apart the plastic to really get in there and clean off all the vents, or if you just spray water in there or air in there. Like right now, I'm actually starting to sweat inside this helmet because there's no airflow, and I may have to crack the helmet open to get some airflow. But even when I did, like I had to go up to about right there to get any air coming in, because cracking it like this, I mean, there's just a little coming in. Yeah, I got the top vent open. I guess the two main issues I'm having with this setup right now is zero airflow reaching the helmet. When I get up to about 55 to 61 and higher, there's this buffeting right at the tip top of the helmet, and I think I'm gonna end up probably just keeping the helmet for that reason, or for that issue. I don't know that I'll try to switch up to a different size. I think trying to futz around with the hole locations is going to create new problems. I did post a question earlier today on the Indian discussion boards. I know some of you watch my videos that are on those boards. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. So I'll see if I'm curious if anyone's actually done it. But when John, the owner of Freedom Shield, points out that if I go taller and take it down, I think it's going to be an issue down there. I don't think there's enough space. And if we raise it up, I think it's going to look funny. And it's going to have some... I don't know... Of the two options, I'd probably take the 12 and raise it a little. Because I think that the airflow coming through the bottom might be better, because right now I've got nothing. And of course, a lot of people think being on the motorcycle that you shouldn't have a windshield at all anyway. And I'm a little bit in that camp myself, but I just thought for longer trips, having that wind constantly beat on your chest gets fatiguing after a while. And I'd like to have this for longer trips. But man, it's hot, and you know, there's no wind coming through at all. So I'm on the fence about whether to even keep it at all and just not use one. Now in the winter, this might be a welcome warm-up, but I wasn't getting this for the winter. I was getting this for, you know, I might start taking some longer trips, like multi-day trips, and I really thought this would be helpful. But I gotta say, part of me is leaning toward just returning it and not using a windshield at all. I think the trade-off with how hot I'm getting is not going to be worth it. And it's funny, without the windshield, you know, there's no buffeting on the top of the head like this. I mean, you just kind of feel your whole body on the interstate gets all this wind. And if I was only doing back roads, that's one thing, but at the interstate is why I wanted this. But it creates so much buffeting at the top of the head, and it's hot. Yeah, so right there, 60 to 61 is where I start to feel the head bobbing inside. And if I'm getting this mainly for the interstate travel, I don't know. Sorry to be rambling on about this. I'm just so undecided about what I want to do. Yeah, I think if you ask me right now, I'm actually leaning toward not using any windshield at all, even on long trips, and to just return this. Alright, so riding at 70 and above, there's just a lot of wind buffeting, and I don't believe this is wind coming from underneath the tank at this point, because if it was, I'd feel it without the windshield. And I think the wind deflectors are working for that purpose. I think that I'm really on the fence at this speed, going over 70, 75 range. You know, there's a little bit of head buffeting. Pressure as well. I'd call it like pressure. You can just kind of feel this wind bubble, and my vision is shaking a little. Like when I'm reading the signs on the side of the road, you know, they're shaking a little bit because of my vision. It's bouncing around. Now, even without the windshield, there's a lot of wind. But what's still interesting to me is the lack of airflow. There's like no wind reaching the helmet, which makes sense down here, I guess, but it's just, I expected there to be some wind flow. You know, the problem is if you're on a long trip and you're not enjoying the windshield, it's not like you can take it off and put it in a bag, right? It's with you for the whole trip. So I'm going over 80 and there's like no wind on my chest. So mission accomplished between that and the wind deflectors. And, you know, there's some air coming from down, but they're supposed to have some air. It's nothing crazy. It's all up here. And one guy proposed maybe lowering the windshield. Now, that would result in more airflow with taking it off the chest. This is the lowest one they make by default, but a lower one would permit more airflow, but it's probably going to increase the head buffeting. So there's not a perfect solution to it. And at some point I got to make a decision. Let's see, I'm at 80 right now. Let's go a little faster, see how it feels. Yeah, just a lot of pressure, or some pressure. Alright, going 90. I mean, I think to be going that fast, this head buffeting is probably reasonable. I'm just all over the place. I'm really on the fence about it. And I don't think I'm going to get rid of the head buffeting. But could I stand to feel this for a few hours if I was using the interstate? I don't know. Well, this is my exit coming up for where I'm going, and I remain undecided. I know some people are in the camp that you'll never get rid of the buffeting, and if I go up, I don't want to be looking through it. I'm leaning toward keeping it and using it for when I need. I'm just on the fence. Like if I was to leave tomorrow on a long trip, right now the lack of airflow in this helmet would make that kind of uncomfortable. And I want the protection of a full face helmet rather than, you know, a half face. I own a half face and never wear it. You know, if I was taking a long trip this week, would I want this windshield on or not? And it's like, the wind protection is definitely effective. But the lack of airflow at all coming into the front is interesting. And I'm not wearing any eye protection right now, like glasses, so I'm hesitant to lift the visor, especially if I was going 70 or 80. A fellow on the discussion boards made a comment that he has the same bike with a 12-inch screen, but he's 6'1", I think he said. I'm like 5'8". And so it's interesting, he said he's very happy with the airflow. Well, that would put him taller, which kind of makes sense, I guess. There's some airflow. Now, I slouch more than I am proud of when I'm sitting. And I think if I sat up, you know, ramrod straight, you know, probably like I should, there's a little bit more airflow coming through. It also feels awkward because I don't sit like this. Usually I'm got a curve in the back and I'm slouching like so. But if I straighten my back, I'm sitting up higher. And even then, if I sat like this all the time, I could probably go a little higher with the windshield, but I just don't think that makes sense for me.